Hey everybody, my name is Thomas and I'm here with Marley, and we both work with ArcGIS Enterprise, and we're here to present to you about administration of ArcGIS Enterprise. So before I get started, I want to take a quick poll of the crowd. How many here are existing administrators of ArcGIS Enterprise? Nice, a lot of people. Okay, great. How many of you were previous administrators maybe of like ArcGIS Server? Nice, okay. And then how about with ArcGIS Online? Do we have any ArcGIS Online admins here? Yes, okay. So hopefully we're not going to be presenting too much repeat content. We only have 25 minutes, so we really wanted to gauge this to be like a taste for administering ArcGIS Enterprise. We wanted to have some important takeaway points that you can take out of this from, and being only 25 minutes, we don't really have a Q&A section, but right afterwards we're going to be available right outside to talk and answer any questions. So let's get started here. We do have some assumptions that we wanted to go over just to make sure that we are all operating at the same understanding here. Then we're going to go into an overview of ArcGIS Enterprise and what that is, what the ArcGIS Enterprise based deployment is. Then we're going to talk about the administrator responsibilities. So we've bulked those into two larger topics of initial configurations and daily administrative tasks, but we have 4 demos that we're going to do to show different aspects of those areas. We're going to wrap up with some quick tips that are great takeaways that you can take with your administration workflows. And we'll be available for questions kind of afterwards. So to start, we are assuming that you are familiar with ArcGIS Enterprise as a product and what its capabilities are. We're going to do a brief overview of what that is and what the base deployment is, just as a recap. But hopefully you'll understand, when we start saying things like ArcGIS Server and Portal, what those mean. Next, we're going to be talking about the ArcGIS Enterprise base deployment. So hopefully you know what that is as well, what federation and a hosting server is, but we'll loosely go into that as well. And then we're also assuming that everything is installed and configured. So we do have other sessions on the installation and the configuration parts of it. This is meant for the kind of day-to-day work. You're coming in as an administrator and ArcGIS Enterprise is already configured or installed for you. What's next kind of steps. So to start, this is ArcGIS Enterprise, and this is the base deployment. It is something that we've had all along. These are software components that we've had for a while, but now at 10.5, they're under the name of ArcGIS Enterprise. The base deployment that we're talking about here is a portal for ArcGIS that has a web adapter for it. In this example, we named it Portal. Then with an ArcGIS server that's licensed as a GIS server, and that will have its own web adapter for the server. That's going to be federated with Portal for ArcGIS, and it's also going to be set as the hosting server. And it can be set as the hosting server because it has the ArcGIS data store registered with it. Now, these are just an example of some of the URLs that you would typically use to engage with ArcGIS Enterprise. The Portal homepage URL is one that many may be familiar with. The Portal admin is one which we'll show a little bit later for a brief demo. You can get some good information there. Then any ArcGIS server users will be very familiar with the REST URL for the services, and then also Server Manager, which we'll also do a brief demo just to give you an overview if you've never touched Server Manager before.
All right. Can you hear me? Perfect. Okay, as an ArcGIS administrator, you may be responsible for a wide variety of tasks to support your organization's users. For this short session, we've divided these tasks into 2 categories: the initial configurations and the daily administrative tasks. For the initial configurations, we're going to talk about securing your organization and really making it your own by customizing the look and feel of your site. So let's start with everyone's favorite subject, security. So as an administrator, why should you care about securing your organization? Well, first, your organization likely has security requirements and regulations that they must meet, so you probably have no choice but to care about security. Next, you want to maintain the integrity of your members' information and their data by avoiding unauthorized tampering. Next, you want to securing your organization is important in protecting the confidentiality of your members' information and their private data. And lastly, we urge you to be proactive in securing your organization. Don't wait until a security threat becomes a reality in your organization to think about security. So here's a list of the security best practices for ArcGIS Enterprise. And don't worry about scribbling down this list or taking a photo. I took this directly from the help topic on security, and we'll link to this at the end of the session. So we suggest that you consider following these security best practices when setting up the security for your organization. Oh, but at the very least, we suggest that you configure access to your portal through HTTPS only, and if possible, you disable anonymous access to your portal. And we're going to show you how easy it is to do this in a short demo.
1 minute?
In 1 second.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Over here. Here, you're signed in there.
Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, there we go.
We'll get rid of that after.
Yeah, we'll remove that after.
Okay. So this is the home page of my organization. We're going to talk about configuring the home page in the next demo. But as you can see, I'm already logged in and as the administrator. So let's head to the organization page.
Zoom in a bit.
Oh, and we're going to zoom in a bit so this is a bit easier for you to see.
Is that better? Can you see better? Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so in the middle here is a list of my organization's members. Right now, Thomas and I are the only members of our organization. And on the right-hand side, you can see a list of the portal named user licenses and their associated expiration date. And along the top here is 4 different options: edit settings, add members, view status, and manage licenses. We're going to go into each of these options throughout this demonstration, but first we're going to head to the edit settings tab. Perfect. So as the administrator, after the initial install and configuration, you'll be spending a lot of time here. Along the left-hand side are 12 different tabs that expose different organization settings that you can set for your enterprise portal in your organization. For now, we're going to head to the security tab. So here is where you can allow access to the portal through HTTPS only. So this will ensure that your users' credentials and data are encrypted during communications over the internet. I apologize about that.
Yeah.
Sorry there. And we will also disable anonymous access to your portal. And this will ensure that only the portal members that you've added to your organization are able to access your information and your content. So then we'll just save.
Go back to the slides.
Perfect. And we're going to head back to the slides. Sorry about the technical difficulties there.
Here, that one.
Watch this.
You're good.
This is my first presentation, if you can't tell. All right.
Hold on. Not yet. There. Oh, no, not yet. Didn't get extended.
Pretty excited.
You should see something. Hold on. Hold on a minute.
The best part about these demos is troubleshooting on the spot. Mostly him.
There we go. Okay.
Perfect. Yay. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah.
All right. So now we've showed you how to configure and implement the first 2 security best practices for ArcGIS Enterprise. So what about the rest? I highly recommend that you attend this session tomorrow at 10:30 to 11:30 in the San Jacinto room. They're going to go into the security best practices in more detail, and it's just a really good session to attend. And if you can attend this session, please come visit us at the Enterprise Island, and we'd be happy to answer any of your security questions or concerns. So next, we're going to talk about really how to make the organization your own by customizing the look and feel of the home page. So as an administrator, why should you care about customizing the home page? Why not leave the out-of-the-box home page that you see here on the right? Well, first, you probably have to meet your organization's branding requirements. And this could mean using a specific name, logo, or color theme. Second, you want to inform your users about your organization. What's the name of your organization? What's its purpose? Do you have a mission statement? All these may be appropriate things to apply to the homepage. And third, you want to make a good first impression. You know that saying, don't judge a book by its cover? Well, unfortunately, people do judge books by their cover, and your enterprise portal isn't any different. So it's important to have a professional-looking, aesthetic, and well-organized home site. So at the top here is the out-of-the-box portal homepage that you will get when you install Portal for ArcGIS. And at the bottom is the organization page that I've customized for this conference. So you can see that I added a unique background, a custom banner, and featured content with some of my organization's most popular maps and apps. So I'm going to show you how to configure these changes and more for your organization. Refresh the page. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a minute here.
Just one moment.
All right. There we go.
All right. So this is the home page that I just showed you with the contour-themed background, the descriptive banner with information about the Dev Summit, and some of my organization's featured contents, my most popular maps and apps available in this carousel display. Below the banner here, this area of text is called the description. And this is typically where you would inform your users about your organization. Right now, it's just populated with some simple text, but I'm going to show you how to add an informative banner that links your organization's users to information and access to the portal. That description wasn't good. I'm going to show you what this will look like here. So here's the description that I'm going to show you how to implement in the other organization. So as you can see, these icons link to resources that I'd like my users to have easily accessible to them, such as what's new in ArcGIS Enterprise. All right, let's head back to the original organization. And I'm logged in as the administrator.
Me somehow.
Thomas somehow.
Yeah.
All right, so let's head to the organization page. All right, so we're going to go into the edit settings. And under the general tab is where you'll configure your logo and name, your description, organization summary, language, and other general settings. As you can see, I've added the ArcGIS Enterprise logo and my name, and this is where we're going to be configuring the description. But for now, let's head to the Homepage tab and look at the other customizations I've added. So here is where I've added my custom background and banner images, and also where I've added my featured content. So prior to this demo, I created a group where I shared my most popular maps and apps to. And in this dropdown, I selected this group. And that group's content is what is displayed on that carousel display on the homepage. All right, let's head back to the General tab to configure the description. So this is a rich text editor in which you can enter text, images, and hyperlinks. You can also add HTML directly. So let's delete the current text. And instead, we're going to add an interactive description that uses icons to link to different resources. So to do this, we've written some HTML code. And in the interest of time, I have that displayed here. So you're probably all familiar with HTML, and this is just a simple code that links images to resource websites. And if you're interested in implementing this sort of description in your organization, feel free to stop by the Enterprise Showcase after, and we can email this code directly to you, and you can just configure it for your own enterprise. So for now, I'm just going to copy this code carefully and head back to my organization. All right. So I'm going to make sure that I'm in View HTML Source before pasting this. And because I want the description to show towards the bottom of the homepage, I'm going to leave this enabled. All right, so let's press Save and head back to the homepage. Oh, thankfully, the description has shown up as expected. So now our description shows links to common workflows and features of ArcGIS Enterprise. So by using some simple HTML for the organization description, we've created a more interesting and useful entry point to our enterprise portal. So let's head back to the presentation. And thank you for bearing with my first 2 demos. Thanks.
Okay. Alrighty. So I'm here to talk about the daily administrative tasks that you might want to do as an administrator in your ArcGIS Enterprise. So you're going to be responsible for a lot of different tasks, whether that is user management or monitoring your organization. And these are all very important, and you're going to have to regularly do some of these workflows. So we wanted to take a deeper dive into at least some of them that you might be doing. Why don't we get started with user management here? So there are going to be some key responsibilities for managing your users. You're going to want to provide access to your organization first and foremost. You want to give people keys to your organization so that they can get in and work as they want to. And you want to make sure that they can do what they're assigned to do. So you're going to want to assign appropriate roles to them, whether that is one of our built-in roles or a custom role that you can configure yourself. You're also going to be responsible for managing application licenses. So users in your organization might want to use Insights for ArcGIS, maybe GeoPlanner or Navigator. And as an administrator, you're going to have to import those licenses and then distribute them to the users. And then you're also going to want to monitor your member activity. Maybe you'll want to answer some questions like which users are creating the most content in my organization, or what is being worked with the most, or what maps are being built today. So I'll do a brief demo where I can show some adding members and assigning roles and managing licenses here. So, I think it's working. Just a minute here. Okay. All right, so here I am. I'm in the organization, and I'm logged in as myself. When I go to the organization page, as we saw, there's only 2 members. There's Marley and there's me. And I'm going to want to go ahead and start to add some members first and foremost. So I'll use the Add Members button. And if you're using ArcGIS Enterprise, the chances are you probably are working with some kind of enterprise login system like ADFS or Active Directory or something like that, or SAML. For this, we're just going to use a built-in portal member, but if you want some help with workflows on using security in that way, we can walk you through that over in the island or the area. When you're adding a user, you can use this simple form to add one at a time, or you can add from a file. In this case, we're just going to add one person, so I'm just going to do the form. It's going to be a John Doe person at Esri.com. And let's just give them a fun username. I don't know if you can have a fun password, but... So I'm going to be assigning them just default as a user, and then I'll upgrade their role later. When I do next, here's the confirmation screen to make sure I got everything okay. I can edit or remove if I want. I'm just going to add Joe to our organization here, or John. Not John, Joe. Anyways, as I return to the organization, there's John, and he's a part of our org. And if I want to change his role at all, I can click this drop down and upgrade him to a publisher and an administrator if I want to. If I had any custom roles that I made, they would also show in that drop down menu, and I could assign those to this person. So next are some licenses. We have this Manage Licenses button. In the past, if you've ever distributed licenses with Portal, you might know some older workflows with using the Portal admin directory, but now it's all built into the Home app. So in this Portal deployment, or ArcGIS Enterprise deployment, we have no premium applications currently, but we've gone ahead and gone to my Esri and downloaded some licenses for Insights and for GeoPlanner. So when I choose that, I have an Insights for 5 users. I'm going to import it. It's just a JSON file that you download from my Esri that has all the information. I'll also do GeoPlanner. There we go. So now you can see the user interface lets you know how many licenses you have available and how many are in use. And it also gives you a list of all the members of your organization so that you can assign these licenses. So when I click on Configure Licenses for John Doe, I can choose which licenses I want to give them. So at this time, I'll give them Insights and GeoPlanner. I'll assign these licenses, get a pop-up. We can see that the available licenses have gone down to 4, and John is licensed for 2 products. I keep calling him Joe. If I want to remove these, I can go in and I can say turn off GeoPlanner, update, and the UI is updated. Now I do have a little bit of time, and it would be kind of good to show you this. I mentioned monitoring your users and how they're kind of engaging with the organization. We do have this view status button, and what this will do is it will open up an activity dashboard. So this is, a dummy ArcGIS Enterprise, so you can't really see too much, but this will give you information about what content is being created, what members are doing, and what groups are there. So this is a really great tool for monitoring and doing some daily administrative tasks. But I'm going to hop back over to my presentation here. There we go. And next up is monitoring your organization. So as an administrator, you are going to be expected to have a full understanding of how your organization is operating, and there's a lot of methods that you can do to ensure this. Now, the ones that are kind of more obvious are logs. Any administrator should be well familiar with logs, and we do have portal and server logs that you can look at and engage with and query. Next up is the activity dashboard. I did show you that just now. That is something that is really helpful for monitoring in many ways with your groups and your content and your members. And then lastly is ArcGIS Monitor. This isn't an ArcGIS Monitor session, so we aren't really doing a demo of ArcGIS Monitor, but there are a lot of sessions out there and people that can discuss it. But we did want to give you a little bit of a brief pitch for really the benefits of ArcGIS Monitor. We said that it's reducing costs, but that's because it really is a tool that's uniquely tailored to monitor the health of your organization. So it's really going to reduce the time that you're spending troubleshooting, and it will give you a full holistic view of what you're working with. It does monitor all system tiers. So instead of just looking at what's going on in ArcGIS Enterprise, it will let you know about the network traffic and also some system performance information on in your environment. There's an alert, a notification system, so you can be alerted if any system, or if any parts of your system go down, or if there's any issues or bottlenecks in your environment. And you can also use it to build reports and metrics for your reporting or for any kind of organization requirements that you have. Now, like I said, we're not going to really demo ArcGIS Monitor, but I at least wanted to show those who might not be familiar with the portal and server logs, where you can find them and how to engage with them. So, one more moment. Okay. Well, there we are. Okay. So, wait, hold on a moment. There we go. There we go. So we're back here to the page I left off at, and I'm going to start by looking at the portal logs. So the portal administrative endpoint is one that some might not be familiar with. You can get to it, here is a link that we have here. Well, I'll go to it actually from here. So if you go through the portal web adapter, and instead of going to portal home, you type portal admin one word, like just portal admin, like that. You'll get to the portal administrator directory. Now, most of the administrative workflows that you can do in here are possible within the home app. So, things like configuring utility net services and things like that you'll do in, ArcGIS Enterprise and in the portal. There are a couple things that you still have to go to the portal admin directory for. One of those big ones is working with SSL certificates. So if you need to update the SSL certificate in your organization, you might want to go here in the security section. You can check on the status of your federation here if you want to, but we do have that in the home app. But logs are kind of a really helpful tool here. Now, if we go into the logs, the operations here are settings, query, or clean, really. When you look at the settings, you can see that I've got, my log directory. I'm recording at an info level, and I'm keeping my logs for 90 days. And for those of you who might not be familiar with how our logs work, it is cumulative. So these are the different log levels that you can configure. It starts at severe and goes all the way up to debug. If my logs are set to info like they are now, I'm going to be capturing severe and warning and info events, but I'm not capturing fine, verbose, or debug. It is beneficial to use debug logs, but that does cause a performance hit in your system with all the information that we're logging. So it really should be used as a troubleshooting tool. Turn it on, do the workflows that you need, and then maybe turn it off. You don't really want to leave debug logs being captured kind of in a production environment. Let's just keep it at info for now, because I want to see what we can find in the logs here. So if I go back to the logs and I do query, it's worth mentioning that we can do a time query. If we know that an issue is happening between midnight and 2 a.m., we can do that here. But I'm just going to query for info and leave everything else the same and hit query. Yeah, probably not. So here we can see, the licenses that I revoked for GeoPlanner. We can see all the information that Marley did. We can see the HTML that she added and what that was. We can see when we disabled HTTP access, for example. So, this is really helpful and a really great way to monitor what's going on in your ArcGIS Enterprise. And we don't really have too much time to look at much of the server logs, but I know that a lot of people here have used ArcGIS Server in the past. So this is a ArcGIS Server Manager. You get to it from going to your URL through the server web adapter and going /manager. So the home page looks like this. I'm just going to show it. And we could spend another 30-minute session going into all the things that you can do in ArcGIS Server Manager, but you should just be aware that we do have a log section. And in that log section, you can do all the same querying, and you can filter in the same way. You can set your log levels up or down, and you can configure all of that. There is a handy tool here with source. So if we were troubleshooting something like just the printing tools, you do get a list of all of the services that are published on your server. So if you want to just look at an issue with syncing or publishing or printing, you can choose those and just query for those events. So that does help to sift through all of the noise of the logs per se. So just one moment. Okay. All right, so these are our quick tips. We just wanted to have, some really good information that you wanted to take away from this. So first, it really is important to stress that you should always have a backup. If you're not aware, the data store, server, and portal all have their own backup and restore workflows. So, that's something that you definitely should do as soon as it's configured. If you want some help or want some guidance on how to do that, come and talk to us. We can show you how to do it. Next, we really do not want you to unfederate your ArcGIS server from your enterprise portal. I know that if you're troubleshooting something that's on the server side, it might seem logical to kind of separate the two and do some troubleshooting on the server. But ultimately, it's better off just leaving the federation intact and troubleshooting around it. You can usually solve all of your issues without needing to do that step. And the consequences of unfederating is that it can affect, the published content and the web, the apps and maps that you're there. So you don't want to get calls from customers saying, what happened to my map? And it's because you unfederated. We do recommend having more than one administrator in your organization. Marley and I were in there just in case. You never know if your administrator is going to leave work and never come back one day. So you always want to have another way to go in there. And then we do have some great capabilities that are worth looking into. With a Python API, you can script automation. It's a really powerful tool for doing a lot of automation and group management. The REST API is something that many of you may be familiar with. Oh, what happened there? Okay. Distributed collaboration is a new feature that's really handy. We're actually going to be a presentation on it coming up next, so if you want to know more about that, stick around. And then custom roles. We didn't really go into that. We just use default roles, but you can really fine-tune what each member in your organization is capable of by using a custom role. If we just had to have 2 takeaways to come out of it, you should do the first 2. Always have a backup and try not to unfederate. You'll be a very happy administrator if you follow those 2 steps. Okay, so these are some resources that we wanted to share with you. Our documentation is really great. I recommend reading it front to back, but if you don't have that much time, these are some helpful sections such as configuring the website, managing access. So these are some of the things that we demoed. There's also the ArcGIS Online Assistant that some of you may be familiar with. Despite its name, it does work with Portal for ArcGIS, and it is a helpful tool for doing things like copying content or managing web map, URLs and JSON strings. It is also on Git so that you can fork it and host it internally offline. Tech support is a great place. I'm from tech support. I recommend it highly. And then also the Esri Showcase right over there is a great place to come and talk to us. So these are some other sessions that we want to recommend. Coming up next, Hillary and Caroline are going to be talking about distributed collaboration. We also recommend architecting your deployment if you're curious about different ways that you can set up the base deployment or further. Then there's threat mitigation, the security one, and the road ahead, which is great for understanding what's coming up in the product. Lastly, before we go, please take our survey. This will help us to know what we need to do to make it more informative for you and what worked and what didn't. So we highly recommend that you go ahead and let us know what you thought. Thank you very much for your time, and have a great rest of the conference.